Okay, so this is a nice game to actually implement as a web server, right? Yeah.
As a presenter, you always open the door where the user goes. As a presenter, you always open the door where the user goes.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I wouldn't open the door with the car behind. I mean, I could, but then you would obviously change to that door. Okay, but so this is a nice game to implement as a web server, right? So that we can play together. So for the rest of the lecture, I'll show you how to do that. So there we go. So this is a bit requires some planning here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a bunch of different versions of our, it's called the Monty Hall game, and we're going to implement that as a web application. And so I'll start with the base simple implementation, and then we add more and more functionality up to the end where we can actually play it. So all this code is also online. So if you go to the IPython notebooks, you find a link where you can essentially download all these files and look at them and run them yourself. Can you read that font? Can you read that font okay? Also at the back? Yeah, it's fine. Good. Okay, so the very first version of our game, I call it Game Server 1 for the first version of our Game Server. So the very first version is a simple Flask application, right? So it's essentially what we've seen before. I create an app. I create one route so that my server answers to the base URL, so just slash. And then I just return some simple HTML text here. Which is essentially, as you can see, it contains welcome to the Magic Door game. And then here, this is a link, right? So it's a link that points to the slash select URL. So this is something that the server doesn't respond to at the moment, but we will need to implement that. So that's the first version. So I'll just, let's run this. I hope this works. There we go. Okay, so this is what our game looks like right now. So it's the title and just to launch the game link. And then if I press the button, if you look very closely up here in the URL, I'm now on localhost 5000/select. In the server, we haven't implemented that yet. So the server just says, I don't know what to do, and we get not found on the website. So now we need to implement this end select endpoint. So this is done now here. So this is now our second version. So you can see I added, we still have our original route here. Nothing has changed here. But now I've added a new route with the endpoint /select. Right? So now hopefully when I click on this link, then my web server will answer for the /select. It will execute this /select function down here. And you can see now, instead of hard coding the HTML, I now render a template. And so the template I'm rendering is this select2.html file. And I can show it how this looks like up here. So this is just a standard. This is just standard HTML. And you can see there's a title on the top, and then my main part here is the form. And the form contains, if you look closely, it contains 3 radio inputs with the door number 1, door number 2, door number 3, and then a submit button at the end. Okay, so this is going to be the page where the user selects the initial choice of the door that he or she wants to have opened. And then on the top here, we can see where, when the user presses the submit button, you can see where the data is being sent to. So it's using a post method. So this is always when we want to send data to the server you use post, and then the URL that we want to send it to is /reselect. Okay, so this we haven't implemented in the web server, but we will need to handle that. Okay, so let's try this out. So now if I, this is now the second version of my game. I'm again greeted with this welcome page. I can click launch game, and so now I started a new game, and I have now the option between door number 1, 2, and 3. Right, so this is now this radio button. I can only choose one. It's exactly what I want. And then if I press now submit, so now I've sent a post request to the reselect URL, but the server doesn't know what to do with it. So you can also see this, if you look at the output here from the server, these lines down here, they tell you which requests have been made. You can see there's a get request for /. This was the original web homepage. And there was a get request for /select. This was the page where we selected the doors. And then when I pressed the submit button, there was a post request to /reselect. And then the server answered the code 404, which means the server didn't know how to handle that because we haven't implemented it. Okay, so then we continue. So our next, so now obviously the thing that we need to do now is to implement this post request, how to handle the post request. This is I've done down here, so I created a new route that answers on /reselect, exactly the URL that I've shown you. And so now I need to specify, by default, these routes, they are looking for get requests. But this reselect, this should actually listen for a post request because I sent it a post data from the client. So this why I add this methods equals post in here. Okay, so now there's an interesting part, right? So this function now, there was some data, namely the door selected by the user, and was posted from the web server, from the web browser to the server. So now we need to be able to access the door number from the code, and this is how it's done here. This is done here with the request.form. So when this request object.form, this contains all the data that has been sent from the web browser to the web server. And so specifically, there was this this radio button had the name door. For the radio button, I used name equals door, and this is how I reference again now which data I want to get out of that form. Right? So it's the value of the radio button. And so this will be either 1, 2, or 3 here. So that's why I converted to an integer. So by using this line here, I can get the data that the user sent me to the server. And I convert to an integer and I store this as variable selected. And so now I can render, now I can render a new HTML page that the user should see. And so I again render template. The template file is called reselect3.html, and this is parameterized. So my template here contains the variable with the name selected, and this, basically on that web page I want to show the door that the user has selected. That's why I parameterize it. So if you look at the template file, I already had this title change in mind because now comes the moment where the user has the option to either stick to the door or change the door. And then I also say you have selected door, and then there's this placeholder in here. So let's look how this looks like. So we'll start from scratch again. We have the magic game. We launch it. I selected door. I press submit, and I now have you have selected door number 2. Right? So now the data was passed in from the select page to the server and then back to the reselect page. Okay, but so now we have a bit of a problem because here in the reselect page, I now need to make a decision. So ideally, so now the user can select a new door, but he can't select the door where the car is behind, right? So somehow I now need to have some kind of a state of the game. Ideally, at the beginning of the game, I need to decide, okay, which door is the one where the price is behind, and I need to kind of pass this information from page to page, so that when I present this reselection, that I can kind of ideally just disable. The game host, right? The game host will open one door, and it's this door that I want to. So first of all, I need to decide which door should the TV host open, right? And for that, I need to know where the price is, so that I don't open that one. And then number B, I need to disable when the user reselects a door. I need to disable that door that the TV host has opened. Right? So it's not possible to open it again. So in other words, I now need to create a state of the game. I need to and pass that through. So I show you how I'm doing that. So the first thing here is that, well, the trick here is that when in this new function, whenever a user opens the /select URL, this is when a new game starts. And what I then do is I create a unique game ID, a unique number that represents that game, and that I can reference again later on to get all the data about this game. So I create a unique game ID, and I also randomly select a number between 1 and 3, which represents the winning door. And then what I have is I have a global dictionary up here, well, a module-wide dictionary of all the game states. So this dictionary gives me, for a specific game ID, it gives me information about that game. And so in particular, if you look at the line number 46 here, what I do is I attach the winning door to the game state. So later on, if I know the game ID, I can also extract again what the winning door was. So now the important part is that I pass this information about the game ID from page to page, so that I keep track of what the game ID is. And the way I do that is I parameterize all my templates, and I pass in the game ID also into the template, as shown here. And then if you actually look at that template, select 4, here in the action, in this form here, where I send the data about which door was opened, I now also encode the game ID as part of the URL. So I'm now visiting /reselect question mark, and anything so this is a so-called URL parameter, and I can add additional parameters to the URL. So essentially I'm just passing information along with the form submission. So alternatively, I could have included the game ID as another input, maybe as a text input or something like that. That would have also worked. But I decided, I went for that. So now, in the reselect, so once the user presses the submit button with the door, I can now use this request.args.get and then game ID. So with this trick here, I extract again the value of the URL parameter game ID. Yeah. So there's the request.form. So this is how you can get form data out. And then there's the request.args.get, where you can get URL parameters out. But the point here is now, at this point, I have the selected door as an integer, and I have the game ID as an integer, which means that using my game states dictionary, I can now also extract what is the winning door for that game. And now I can decide which door the TV host should open. So the way I do that is initially I have 3 possibilities to open it, either 1, 2, or 3. And then I discard the winning door because I definitely don't want to open that one. And I also don't want to open the one that a guest has selected, right? The TV host never opens the one that the guest has selected. So then I just choose one randomly out of the remaining items that are still in that list. Yeah, and so then I can implement now my reselect page where the user is supposed to have a choice between either choosing a new door or keeping the existing one. So what I need, the variables that I need here is the game ID, then the door that the user has selected, and then the door that has been opened by the TV show, by the TV host. This is the template for that. So you can see the title is still the same, so change your mind. And then there's a huge form here, and what I'm presenting here is I present I just confirm again you have selected door number selected, and then I specify the door that the TV host has opened. So I open door, and then there's the placeholder for the variable opened. And then I just say, okay, guess what? There's nothing behind the door, right? So that I know from how I selected that door. So then I give the user the option, so do you want to change your mind? And so then what I do is I loop. So here I coded up a loop as part of the template system. So I loop from 1, 2, and 3. And in each loop I create a new radio input. And I need some logic in here. So I check the first logic here makes sure that if that by the default value, the default radio button that is selected is the one that the user selected in the first part. And then I also make sure that I disable the door that is already opened, so that the user can't click on that one. Yeah.
Logic, is it button or is it something different?
No, so this is the Flask template logic. So if you actually, it's best to just look up the documentation how this works. Yeah. A good question, and it's actually quite annoying, I think. But yeah. And then at the end I have this submit button again. So now here the user can make a choice now again, and then up here you can see where the state is being sent to. So now there's a final endpoint that we will need to implement later on to make the final selection. But let's try this out first if it works. So we start again from scratch. So we have our welcome to the magic door. So nothing has changed here. I can door number 3. And so the first interesting part here is up here. You can see if you look closely, there's now this question mark game ID, and now there's this unique identifier. Right? So this is now this identifier that I passed on from page to page to make sure that I always refer to the same game, because there might be thousands of games happening at the same time, right? So, okay, so then you have selected door number 3, and so I open door number 2, right? So, so now I guess the user has the choice between either sticking to 3 or switching to number 1. And so that you can see the default here was 3. This is where I used this logic. And then number 2 is actually disabled. I can't click on it. And then door number 1 would be here. So okay, let's switch. And then get not found, because now the URL is this /final, which we haven't implemented yet. And there's also this question mark game ID still. So that's a good sign. So we still have the game ID, so we can, on the final page, we can make the decision if the user is actually won or not. So let's go to the next version. So in this version, we've implemented the final page, which is shown here. So the final page is again should answer for a post request, because there was again a submit button sent on the reselect page. And then essentially what is left to do, right? So I just extract from the form which door the user has has selected on the reselect page, right? So it's final choice. Then I get the game ID. I get the winning door using that game ID. And then I can work out if the user has won or not by just comparing if the selected door is equal to the winning door. And then I can render a template. I called it final.html, and this is parameterized with a has won, so if the variable if the user has won or not, and with the winning door. So I would like to tell the user which door he should have chosen in order to win. This is how the template looks like. So here I have an if statement, right? So if has won is true, then I show congratulations, you have won. And otherwise, I show you have lost, the winning door would have been winning. Yeah. And then I also added a link to /select again to start a new game. So with that, we should, now we should have all the basic functionality, so I can select a door, I can press submit. Okay, so I opened door 3, but the host opened door number 2, so I guess we should stick to 3, and yes, 1. Okay, and so now I can play again. Good. So this is already great, but we would also like to kind of collect some statistics, right? We want to learn which method which strategy is the better one. Is it better to change the door, or is it better to not change the door? So in our code, we already have kind of this game states dictionary, right? So this already collects some information about every game that was played on the server. Unfortunately, at the moment, if you look at that code carefully, at the moment we only store the winning door on the game ID in this game state. But in order to build up these statistics, we need to extend this a little bit. So we also need to store information about if the user has changed the door or not changed the door, and if the user has won, and so on and so forth. So in the next version, I've implemented I've extended these game states a little bit, and I basically, instead of just storing the winning door, I store an entire dictionary for each game, and store an entire dictionary with various different informations. So at the beginning, I just store which is the winning door, but then as the game continues, so here I attach also the information about what was the door that the user has chosen initially, right? So I also attach that to the, and then later on here I in the final page I also attach information about if the user has changed his choice or not, and if he has won or not. So essentially now, if you play a game, for every game that you play, these game statistics will be a growing dictionary with all the information about the games that has been played. So now we have all the information that we need to also present statistics. So now I implemented this /statistics route, and now this is basically just a matter of fiddling around with the states and getting the right data out. So I use these. So now I'm basically just accessing these game states variables and extracting the information. How often has the user changed and won, and how often has the user not changed and has won, and then I work out the success rates for these two and present them. So this is now just some data entry. But I guess we can try it. So if I go to statistics now, this is what the page looks like. So it's not very exciting because we haven't played any games. But let's play one game. There we go, and let's say change. Okay, F1. So now, okay, changed and won 1 out of 100% success rate. So that's good. So at least it works. Okay. And so then the final version, so essentially now we're done, we could play the game. There's one last thing that we can do. It's now, the actual code is exactly the same. The only thing that I've now changed is that I used a more advanced templating system, and so I now use a so-called layout. So I use a base template that I just wanted to make the page a bit look a bit prettier. So I kind of have a base layout that has a nice top bar with some color top bar, and I import something called Bootstrap to make the buttons look nicer and so on and so forth. And so there's a navigation bar and so on. But essentially now there's kind of this base layout, and this base layout is templated, and you can see here there's a block part, the block body part. And now every single page that we've coded up, like the select page, the final page, and so on, they will now I just need to insert the content into that block part, and so all these pages will now automatically get the nice layout. So I can show this to you. So here, this is the final page. Here on the final page, I say now, this page extends my layout7.html. So this is this layout page that I've just described. And then I have the place. This is now the implementation of this body block here. Everything down here, this goes into the body block. And then the actual code of the body block is exactly what I had before. So now I just use the nested templating system to make things look better. And what else did I change? I used in these checkboxes, I just use labels at the moment. I thought it might be nice to have some images. So you can see I use this ing for image tag to actually show some doors. So now if you look at this, you can play the game. And so you can see just with relatively small changes, right, we went from kind of this basic functionality to actually a web page that looks, I mean, for relatively small effort, it doesn't look so bad, right? So now we have these doors, and I can click on them. I can kind of select them. Say one, okay. There we go. So I selected two, but number one is open, so I can't select that one anymore. But I can say go stick with two, and then yes. Okay, and so the cool thing now is, if you look at, let's say, where's the game? So I run this application with this flag that the server is not just accessible on my computer, but on the entire network here. So in principle, anyone who knows my IP address can now visit this web page, right? And so I'm going to tell you my IP address now, and then we can all play the game together and collect some statistics. I hope it works. So this should work with your mobile phone, it should work with your laptop, right? So, I mean, this is one of the advantages of having a web application, that we can do it from everywhere. So the IP address is this one. And I think you need to go to edit :5000 at the end. So essentially, I think if you type in this part down here, you should be presented with I just at the same time I open up the statistics page. Just while you're playing, be nice to. Stats. So is it working for someone? Oh yeah, so is it no, it's not working? Is it working for anyone? Oh, that's a shame. Okay, let me 193.157. It works for you? Okay, so we have some. Are you on so you need to be on the, which Wi-Fi am I on? You probably need to be on Udoroam for this to work. Are you on Udoroam by any chance? Yeah, so I guess you need to be on Udoroam for this to work. It does not work? But you're on Udoroam? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, so I overpromised, right? That doesn't always work, but yeah. That's a shame. Last year I think it worked. So. Okay, but we have some people playing, as I can see. So maybe for the ones who it works, please just keep playing and. So now we can see, right? So we can follow what people are doing here. I get these get requests in here on the left. I can see, okay, someone has just selected something. Right, someone has finished. Okay, that's good. Okay, changed in one, 77%. Not changed in 100. Yeah, so don't change. Don't change is 100%. Okay, changed is now at 80%, and not changed is at 57%. Okay. Oh, not changing is at 36%. I think we need some more data points. It's changing too much. So, not changing is really bad. Okay, changing is 75% and not changing is 21%. This is not the answer that I'm expecting. Huh? Huh. 17. Yes. Okay. Two people are doing all the work. Oh yeah. Good job. You've played 60 games. Okay, but I guess we can stop here. But it's maybe not enough data points. But I mean, there seems to be a big difference, right? So changing seems to be the better strategy. We have 65% success rate, and not changing is only 23. And there we have almost not have any data points, but here we have 80% for changing and 50% for not changing. So, but it's not really the numbers that I was looking for. So the surprising thing is that the first surprising thing is that it matters at all, right? I mean, wouldn't you argue, many people would intuitively argue that in both cases you have a 33%, right? 1 over 3. There are 3 doors, and you make a choice between 3 doors. So you would intuitively argue that the chance is always 1 over 3, or 33%. But actually, it isn't the same. And so the truth is that changing is the better strategy. And the reason is because the TV host gives you additional information by opening a door where there's a code behind. And then by changing, you make use of that information, and your chances of winning increase from 33% to 50%. So if you're ever in a TV show and you're faced with that problem, make sure that you change. But so it looks like we're getting there, right? But we have I mean 65% should be 50 and 23% should be 33. But I guess it's more or less. Let's look it up. You are right. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so changing actually increases your chance from 33% to 66%. Thanks. So in that light, at least the first one is we are almost bang on. And the second one isn't so bad either. Yeah. Okay. Any questions regarding web programming or goats or cars or yeah? A loop? Yes, that's homework. Yeah, but of course, yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
You can host your web page at Git, right? At 8 pages. But it's only static.
Yeah.
Where is the line go?
So Git only allows you to upload HTML pages, which are then displayed on your web browser, but it does not allow you to run Python servers on Git. And so if you wanted to have something like this game server actually running on the internet, you would have to kind of buy a web server somewhere online and install Python and then run it. But I think Google, I'm sure Google has some kind of services where you can run Python stuff. Yeah. Okay, then see you next week.